program here at BHS. We would like to start our presentation. For those who can, please rise for the posting of the colors. Colors, pose. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing for the national anthem.
Present. Up. Take your seats.
call up Dr. Murray for the introduction of the VHS veterans, guests, and dignitaries.
Well, good morning. Today's really an exciting and special day. It's all about our veterans, the men and women who served our country so bravely, so valiantly over these many years. The sacrifices not only they've made, but their families as well. I think it's a shame that it's just one day a year, but every time I salute the flag or hear the national anthem, it's about our veterans. So today is really celebrating them. We have a lot of dignitaries, veterans in the audience. I want to thank people from the school committee, from the city council, the mayor, administrators throughout the district. The superintendent's going to speak a few moments from now. Thank you for joining us and celebrating not only the veterans that work here in the Brockton Public Schools, and especially my favorites, the ones for Brockton High, but veterans throughout our nation. So thank you for coming. And again, really, this is about the veterans and celebrating their service and their sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. I want to thank Dr. Murray and the Brockton High administration, the JROTC, and the Brockton High staff, and Mr. McCreena and the great band for putting this together. This is always my favorite assembly. It has been for the 18 years that I worked here at Brockton High, and then coming back as an assistant superintendent, now superintendent. I'm always humbled by this ceremony. It's a great ceremony. 4 of my uncles on my father's side served in World War II. My father served in non-war time, and then my uncle on my mother's side served in Vietnam. So it's always been special for my family. I want to thank the veterans. I want to thank the veterans who have served. I want us to remember the veterans that lost their lives, giving us our freedom. And I want to thank and bless the ones that are going to serve. And God bless you all. And also, I want to take a moment to say, when Monday, when you see the ads come out for all the sales, the specials that the stores run, take a moment away from that and think about the veterans and think about what they gave for us to be here today and be free. So we thank them for that. I now want to bring up our mayor of the city, Mayor Moses Rodriguez, who has always been a great champion for Brockton, but also a great champion for the Brockton Public Schools. The mayor and I are both Brockton High graduates. I think he was a little bit before me, not much. So I want to welcome our mayor, Mayor Rodriguez.
Well, good morning. It's interesting that Mike Thomas said that I graduated a little before him. I think the only person that graduated before me was Quest. I think this, no, that's not necessarily true, because I actually graduated from this high school, so it wasn't, it was a long time ago, but it wasn't that long ago. But I want to thank everybody for coming out today, and especially the young people in the audience. Those that are thinking of joining the greatest military in the planet. I don't know if you know this or not, I too served in the U.S. Navy for 6 years. I was just telling the Army guys outside that I don't hold it against them because they joined the Army, but we all know that the best bench in the military is the Navy. There you go. I don't care if there's only 2 of us in here, we can hold this place down. But it's a great honor to have served this country. It's a great honor to honor those that passed, that actually served before us. It's a great honor to honor those that actually gave the ultimate sacrifice in honor of the greatest country on earth. America is a country made up of people from all types of life, from all colors, from all countries. That's what makes America great. It's not the nonsense that you hear on television about making America great. What makes America great, it's people, it's military, it's caring for people around the world. And as Michael Thomas said, please remember those that while we are sleeping in our nice beds, nice warm beds, we have men and women serving around the world in frigid temperature, in raining situations, in mud, and whatever else you can think of. So please think of them every day, and please honor those that have passed and supported us in this greatest country on the planet. I also want to thank the young people on the stage, Mr. McCreener, and these great musicians that we have here. Brockton is a city like no other. It's the greatest city in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We have the best high school in the planet, and we will continue to have the best high school in the planet. So I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for honoring the young people in this school. Thank you for honoring those that are a little older. Thanks for honoring those that actually have come before us. Thank you very much, and continue to honor the veterans in this country. Thank you.
And now I would like to call up Lieutenant Richard Clark for the presentation overview.
Good morning. Welcome to today's ceremony. First of all, thank you to all the men and women who have served our country, and also to those who support our military and veterans. Secondly, thank you for attending. Each year we gather to recognize and thank our veterans in our community, and to show our youth the sacrifices they made on our behalf. In deciding upon what we would like to debate today, Dr. Murray suggested that we watch Sammy's story, In the Shadow of Suribachi. After watching the video, we recognized an opportunity to not only highlight the Battle of Iwo Jima, but to relate it to the importance of valuing diversity and inclusion. In a school of just under 4,100 students, the student population, excluding white, not Hispanic origin, is approximately 84%. With such a diverse population, the students need to recognize the importance of working with others with different visible traits. For example, their sex, their age, their race, and the non-visible traits, their knowledge, culture, and values. So what better way to convey this message than to show our military organizations must do the same? That is why we thought Sammy's story was so appropriate. In his story, we get to see how a young Jewish man overcame issues with anti-Semitism while trying to survive during a war. With that said, I ask that you pay special attention to Rabbi Gitelson's sermon. Although it is long, the sermon does convey a powerful message. And I would also like to thank Mr. Bernstein's son for coming in today to join us. Once again, at this time, I would like to introduce the band director, Mr. Vincent McCreener, for the playing of the Armed Forces Salute.
Welcome all of you, and this also is one of my favorite assembly and concerts that I do every single year. We just like to make sure that when we play your theme for the service that you were part of it, that you stand up and be recognized, okay? And now we're not going to make a big deal about the Navy today. I'm not sure. I was told that by a Marine, by the way. United States Air Force. And the United States Navy.
And now we would like to start our presentation. First, I would like to thank all the veterans who have so honorably served. Without their sacrifices, we would not be able to enjoy the freedoms that we have today. In spite of all of our differences, men and women continue to answer the call. This year, we have chosen to speak about the Battle of Iwo Jima and relate it to one man's story of not only serving his country, but to demonstrate how we all have overcome obstacles and united to make the world a better place. With that said, we will provide background information in regards to the importance of the Battle of Iwo Jima, then relate that to the personal struggle that men and women have faced in the wake of battle. Just to bring you back up to speed, Iwo Jima is a volcanic island 660 miles south of Tokyo. It is 2 miles wide by 4 miles long and 750 miles off the coast of Japan.
During the summer and fall of 1944, even before ground operations to secure the Mariana Islands of Guam, Saipan, and Tinian ended, U.S. Naval Construction Battalions were already clearing land for air bases suitable for the new B-29 superfortresses. These huge bombers had a range capable of reaching the Japanese home islands. The first B-29 bombing runs began in October of 1944, but there was a problem. Japanese fighters taking off from tiny Iwo Jima were intercepting B-29, as well as attacking the Mariana airfields. The U.S. determined that Iwo Jima must be captured. U.S. Marines invaded Iwo Jima on February 19, 1945, after months of naval and air bombardment. The Japanese defenders of the island were dug in some bunkers deep within the volcanic rocks. Approximately 70,000 U.S. Marines and 18,000 Japanese soldiers took part in the battle. In 36 days of fighting on the island, nearly 7,000 U.S. Marines were killed. Another 20,000 were wounded. Marines captured 216 Japanese soldiers. The rest were killed in action. The island was finally declared secure on March 16, 1945. It had been one of the bloodiest battles in Marine Corps history. After the battle, Iwo Jima served as an emergency landing site for more than 2,200 B-29 bombers, saving the lives of 24,000 U.S. airmen. Securing Iwo Jima prepared the way for the last and largest battle in the Pacific, the invasion of Okinawa. Now that you understand why we had to take Iwo Jima, we will now highlight some of the obstacles that one U.S. Marine, Sammy Bernstein, faced.
In the shadows of Sarah Bocci, Sammy's story is a tale of two battles fought by World War II Marine Sammy Bernstein. The first was the horror of Iwo Jima, the Marine Corps' bloodiest battle. The second was his struggle with anti-Semitism in the World War II military. Sam Bernstein entered the 5th Marine Division as a machine gunner who participated in the Battle of Iwo Jima. During his initial entry and through his training, he was either subjected to acts of anti-Semitism or witnessed it being done to others. The first of which was when he was told to pick his religion on his dog tags, either Catholic or Protestant. He fought that order in stating that he was Jewish and ended up settling for them stamping his dog tags with H for Hebrew. The second act he was subjected to was when another Marine threw all of his belongings out of his tent with a note stating that Hitler missed him. And finally, while assisting Chaplain Roland Gittleson, the first and only Jewish rabbi serving as a chaplain, he witnessed the acts of anti-Semitism that the other chaplains showed when they were about to protest the memorial sermon at the Iwo Jima cemetery dedication. By the grace of God, he survived the battle at Iwo Jima, but it was not without luck. For the morning he was to leave the island on March 26, 1945, Bernstein was in a foxhole waiting for the ship at 5 a.m. when a Japanese banzai attack occurred. A fellow Marine went out of the foxhole to see what the commotion was about and was killed. A Japanese soldier threw a hand grenade. Bernstein shot the Japanese soldier and the grenade turned out to be a dud. Sammy mentioned the anti-Semitism that fellow Marines had towards one another. So we would be remiss not to mention who Chaplain Gittleson was in more detail. He was the first Jewish rabbi to serve in the Marine Corps. Following the famed battle at Iwo Jima, at which Gittleson was present, tending to soldiers of all faiths, he was asked by Division Chaplain Warren Cuthrell, himself a Protestant minister, to deliver a memorial sermon at the Iwo Jima cemetery dedication in March 1945 to an interreligious audience. When this became known, a protest arose among the other chaplains over having a rabbi speak in memory of soldiers who were overwhelmingly Christian. However, Chaplain Cuthrell would not defer until Gittleson intervened and suggested having 3 separate services, one each for Protestants, Catholics, and Jews. Separate religious services were then planned, and Gittleson speaking at the Jewish service. Included in the audience for the Jewish service were 3 Protestant chaplains who boycotted their own services in protest of the bigotry and heard Rabbi Gittleson's eulogy instead. In light of these circumstances, we can better understand Rabbi Gittleson's plea for tolerance during his famous remarks. We would also be remiss if we didn't read Chaplain Gittleson's sermon. So at this time, here is what he wrote.
This is perhaps the grimmest and surely the holiest task we have faced since D-Day. Here before us lie the bodies of comrades and friends, men who until yesterday or last week laughed with us, joked with us, and trained with us. Men who were on the same ships with us and went over the sides with us as we prepared to hit the beaches of this island. Men who fought with us and feared with us. Somewhere in this plot of ground there may lie the man who could have discovered the cure for cancer. Under one of these Christian crosses, or beneath the Jewish Star of David, there may rest how a man was destined to be a great prophet. To find the way, perhaps, for all to live in plenty, with poverty and hardship for none. Now they lie here silently in this sacred soil, and we gather to consecrate the earth in their memory. It is not easy to do so. Some of us have buried our closest friends here. We saw these men killed before our very eyes. Any one of us might have died in their places. Indeed, some of us are alive and breathing as at this very moment, only because men who lie here beneath us had the courage and strength to give their lives for ours. To speak in memory of such men as these is not easy. Of them too, it can be with utter truth, the world will little know nor long remember what we say here. It can never forget what they did here. No, our poor power of speech can add nothing to what these men and the other dead of our division who are not here have already done. All that we can even hope to do is follow their example, to show the same selfless courage and peace that they did in war. To swear that by the grace of God and the stubborn strength and power of human will, their sons and ours shall never suffer these pains again. These men have done their job well. They have paid the ghastly price of freedom. If that freedom be once again lost, as it was after the last war, the unforgivable blame will be ours, not theirs. So it is we living who are here to be dedicated and consecrated. We dedicate ourselves, first, to live together in peace the way they fought and are buried in war. Here lie men who loved America because their ancestors ancestors generations ago helped in her founding, and other men who loved her with equal passion because they themselves or their own fathers escaped from oppression to her blessed shores. Here lie officers and men, Negroes and whites, rich men and poor, together. Here are Protestants, Catholics, and Jews, together. Here no man prefers another because of his faith or despises him because of his color. Here there are no quotas of how many from each group are admitted or allowed. Theirs is the highest and purest democracy. Any man among us, the living, who fails to understand that will thereby betray those who lie here dead. Whoever of us lifts his hand in hate against a brother or thinks himself superior to those who happens to be in the minority makes of this ceremony and the bloody sacrifice it commemorates an empty, hollow mockery. To this, then, as our solemn sacred duty, do we, the living, now dedicate ourselves. To the right of Protestants, Catholics, and Jews, of white men and Negroes alike, to enjoy the democracy for which all of them have here paid the price. To one thing more do we consecrate ourselves in the memory of those who sleep beneath these crosses and stars. We shall not foolishly suppose, as did the last generation of America's fighting men, that victory on the battlefield will automatically guarantee the triumphant democracy at home. This war, with all its frightful heartache and suffering, is but the beginning of our generation's struggle for democracy. When the last battle has been won, there will be those at home, as there were last time, who will want us to turn our backs in selfish isolation on the rest of organized humanity and thus sabotage the very peace for which we fight. We promise you who lie here, we will not do that. We will join hands with Britain, China, Russia in peace, and even as we have in war, to build the kind of world for which you died. When the last shot has been fired, there will still be those whose eyes are turned backward, not forward, who will be satisfied with those wide extremes of poverty and wealth in which the seeds of another war can breed. We promise you, our departed comrades, this too will not permit. This war has been fought by the common man. Its fruits of peace must be enjoyed by the common man. We promise by all this is sacred and holy that your sons, the sons of miners and millers, the sons of farmers and workers, will inherit from your death the right to a living that is decent and secure. When the final cross has been placed in the last cemetery, once again there will be those whom profit is more than peace, who will insist with the voice of sweet reasonableness and appeasement that it is better to trade with the enemies of mankind by crushing them than to lose their profit. To you who sleep here silently, we give our promise. We will not listen. We will not forget that some of you were burnt with oil that came from American wells, and some of you were killed with shells fashioned from American steel. We promise that when, once again, men seek profit at your expense, we shall remember how you looked when we placed you reverently, lovingly in the ground. Thus do we memorialize those who have ceased living with us, now live within us. Thus do we consecrate ourselves, the living, to carry on the struggle they began. Too much blood has gone into the soil for us to let it lie barren. Too much pain and heartache have fertilized the earth on which we stand. We here solemnly swear this shall not be in vain. Out of this and from the suffering and sorrow of those who mourn this will come, we promise, the birth of a new freedom from sons of men everywhere. Amen. In concluding this presentation, we hope that you all accept one another for who you are, regardless of your race, color, religion, creed, or sex, and appreciate the fact that working together can make our society a better place.
And now the band will play the Missing Man. would like to call up Mrs. Avery to explain what a veteran is.
In 1921, an American soldier, his name unknown, was buried on a Virginia hillside overlooking the Potomac River in the city of Washington. The Arlington National Cemetery burial site of this unknown World War I soldier became their personification of dignity and reverence for America's veterans. Similar ceremonies occurred earlier in England and France, where an unknown soldier was buried in each nation's highest place of honor. These memorial gestures all took place on November 11th, giving universal recognition to the celebrating ending of World War I at 11 a.m. November 11th, 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. If the idealistic hope had been realized that World War I was in fact the war to end all wars, November 11th might still be called Armistice Day. Since that time, however, Americans have answered their nation's call in times of war and crisis to serve their country with courage, dignity, and pride. So what is a veteran? America's veterans come in a wide variety of shapes, sizes, and ages. Their collective experiences span 2 world wars, several foreign conflicts, and the periods of peace in between. They have followed war mules through Flanders fields, dropped from landing barges onto the beaches of Normandy, faced the icy cold of Pork Chop Hill in Korea, trudged the rice paddies of the Mekong Delta in Vietnam, and served with distinction in Iraq and Afghanistan. They now stand ready in an uncertain world where terrorists and petty dictators threaten world peace. Some veterans bear visible signs of their service, a missing limb, a jagged scar. Others may carry the evidence inside them, a pin holding a bone together, a piece of shrapnel in the leg, or perhaps another sort of inner steel, the soul's ally, forged in the refinery of adversity. Except in parades, however, the men and women who have kept America safe wear no badge or emblem. You can't tell a vet just by looking. What is a vet? He is the cop on the beat who spent 6 months in Saudi Arabia sweating 2 gallons of water a day to make sure the armored personnel carriers didn't run out of fuel. She is the nurse who fought against futility and went to sleep sobbing every night for 2 solid years in Da Nang. He and she are the countless drill instructors, pilots, radar operators, and soldiers who stood guard during the periods of peace to make them last. They are the anonymous heroes in the tomb of the unknowns, whose presence at the Arlington National Cemetery must forever preserve the memory of all the anonymous heroes, whose valor dies unrecognized with them on the battlefield or in the ocean's sunless deep. They are the ordinary and yet extraordinary human beings who offered some of their life's most vital years in the service of their country and who sacrificed their ambitions so that others would not have to sacrifice theirs. Remember, it is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to demonstrate. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. So remember, November 11th is Veterans Day, and each time you see someone who has served our country, just lean over and say thank you. That's all most people need. And in most cases, it will mean more than any medals they could have been awarded or were awarded. So, if you can, could you all please rise and observe a moment of silence in honor of all veterans.
Thank you.
And now the band will play Let Freedom Ring. concludes our presentation. Please rise for the retiring of the colors.
Ready? Stop.